Alright guys, so we're about to do this Symbols of Pennsylvania poster. I want to give you a quick history of posters and introduce you to some of the really good innovations and really good artists that were associated with some of the, I want to say, the benchmarks of poster development throughout time. There's so much more you could learn about it. Obviously, we could spend an entire year just learning about the history of the poster, which would be actually very thrilling for me. I don't know about you. Oh, I love it. But going back to like the earliest movable type printing press, the Guttenberg press, you probably learned about that in history. So it's the first time we can set type. So it would be little blocks of metal or wood that were the actual letter forms that were made by somebody, and they would set, you know, like A, B, C, D. You would hold it all tightly together on a plate, and then it would be pressed over, and there you would have it. Unfortunately, at that point, you had to set all of that independently by hand, which to them seemed great, because that otherwise you would have had to just draw it or write it again and again and again and transcribe it like the monks did with the early copies of the Bible. But now you can print as many as you want. Once you get that set, print as many pages as you want. It was great. But that just meant that all the, just one second. Okay. That just meant that everything, all the letters, when they're stacking all these letters together, let's say that, you know, they're doing ABC, of course it's backwards, so it would look something like this. It had to be held together really tight. There would be like these screw things that would hold it together in the line, which limited you to either vertical or horizontal placement of things. So that would be the, you know, the skeleton or the backbone of the composition of all of these older posters. You'll never see anywhere anything's going diagonally. So then a guy came along, his name was Lord Charles Stanhope, and he made kind of just like the Gutenberg press, except it was all iron and it could print much faster. And you still had to hand set all of the type, but it was just quicker. And the more that could be produced, the cheaper newspapers and printing things would be. So you would have someone like Benjamin Franklin in Philadelphia who had a printing shop, and he would be printing newspapers or whatever he would be printing. Early poster was just like a big sheet. I saw some of these in Philadelphia. They're actually very interesting. Early history of printing. But and then on the side they'd be doing side jobs, you know, whatever kind of, so you'd have a newspaper and then you would have the printing press and you would do side jobs for businesses, whatever they needed. Koenig was the next guy, and there were more, you know, there were more innovators in the press. Necessity is the mother of invention, so if they wanted it faster, there was more demand for work. They're trying to cut labor costs, whatever they're trying to do, just get more product out so they could make more money. He invented a steam-powered printing press, which is like 25 times faster than you know, a manually operated press, and that's when the prices went really down and production went really far up. But we didn't get innovation or really stylistic posters until the advent or use of lithography. They would take a piece of stone, and that's where the name comes from, lithography, litho meaning stone, graphene meaning to write. But when we say graphics, look at all these words that come from graphene, graphite, graphics, you know, pictograph. Anytime you have an image, it usually uses the word graph, although this means to write. But litho, you know, if you're monolithic, you only have one idea. It's a great big block of stone. This means stone. So a lithograph. This is really cool. So they would take like a grease pencil or some type of marking instrument that was based in grease, a grease crayon or grease pencil, and draw the image here, whatever it would be, and it could be any shape or form, and you start to see some really cool stuff. And then you could even invent your own text. Before, with the handset type, they had this text you know, the uppercase and the lowercase characters and all the special markers. And again, like I said, some hand carved pieces will show in the examples. And, you know, it would be a picture of a boat, or it would be a picture of a, you know, flower or some ornaments. And they would just set them into the plate. Now we're doing it right on a big piece of stone. We're writing on it with a greasy pencil, wetting the stone down a little bit, and then putting an ink that is oil-based down, and it won't stick to where the stone is wet. It'll only stick to where it's greasy. So now ink it, press the paper onto it, and transfer the image. And I could do this with lots of color. And the sensitivity and the precision and the artistry and the way they did these individual stones. So like if you want to have 4 colors, let's just say 4, they had many, sometimes they had 12 or more, you would have to have that many stones. So you would have a stone, or you would have to do each one, and then they all would have to line up. So I would have, if I want 4 colors, I'll have four stones. They'll probably be all the same size, you know, to fit in my press. And there would be, you know, the black here, the red, whatever color. You don't, we use CMYK now, but you could have whatever colors you want on these stones. And then they would print them up, and they would all have to register. I'll show you an example of what I mean. But, you know, so prior to lithography, the posters were dull. You know, they would have just big black and white broadsides with, you know, cool things with the different typefaces, and some bigger, some smaller, some would be ornamented, and they tried, you know. But once the color lithography or Chromolithograph was coming out, it just was like an eruption of beauty and creativity. And if we look at the work of Alphonse Mucha, which I think everybody's seen something that he did or is derivative of what he did, okay, in the Art Nouveau era. And then Henri, sorry Henri, almost Toulouse-Lautrec. We'll look at these two, okay? They're color lithographs. So they would go and they would be the guys that would actually draw on the stone, or they would draw a design on paper, and somebody in the printing shop would help do the work. Mucha did all of his own. I don't know about Lautrec, but these artists are, I'm a big fan of both of these. And let's look at these ones, and then let's look at how we're going to make our own poster.